Good day, everyone. Today, I'm going to discuss lesson 4 of our instructional material, and this is about development theories, but we will concentrate on psychoanalytic and psychosexual theories. Now, the psychoanalytic theory is the personality theory, which is based on the notion that an individual gets motivated more by unseen forces that are controlled by the conscious and the rational thought. Let's consider or let's discuss first who is the founder of the theories. Now we have Sigmund Freud, and he was born on May 6, 1856 in Praver Town, Czech Republic. In 1881, he graduated from medical faculty, University of Vienna. In 1896, Freud was officially recognized, and in 1900, he released Interpretation of Dreams, while in September 23, 1939, Freud passed away in Hampstead House. Sigmund Freud is related to or known on his psychoanalytic theory. So, according to him, the human behavior is formed through an interaction between three components of the mind, which later I'll discuss. But let's proceed first to the level of the mental life. We have the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, or the preconscious mind, and the unconscious mind. Now, the conscious mind contains all the thoughts, memories, feelings, and wishes of which we are aware at any given moment. So this is the aspect of our mental processing that we can think and talk about r- rationally. So this also includes our memory, which is not always part of consciousness, but can be retrieved easily and brought into awareness. When we say subconscious or preconscious mind, this consists of anything that could potentially be brought into the conscious mind. And we have unconscious mind is a reservoir of feelings, thoughts, urges, and memories that are outside of our conscious awareness. So the unconscious contains contents that are unacceptable or unpleasant, such as feeling of pain, anxiety, or conflict. According to Freud, thoughts and emotions outside of our awareness continue to exert an influence on our behaviors, even though we're unaware or unconscious of these underlying influences. Now, the unconscious can include repressed feelings, hidden memories, habits, thoughts, desires, and reactions. Memories and emotions that are too painful, embarrassing, shameful, or distressing to consciously face are stored in the innermost reservoir that makes up the unconscious mind. To identify the roots of a psychological distress, Freud employed techniques like dream analysis and free association. So, this is about the sharing of seemingly random thoughts to bring true feelings to light. Now, the role of the subconscious mind is working this time on the mind, or the contents of the conscious mind include all the things that you are actively aware of. The closely related subconscious mind contains all of the things that you could potentially pull into conscious awareness. The subconscious also acts as something of a guard, controlling the information that is allowed to enter into conscious awareness. The subconscious memories are not the same things as memories that are readily accessed, such as remembering your way home. So they are unrepressed memories that we extract for a specific purpose at a specific time. And let's proceed with the structure of personality. So we have the id, superego, and ego. Now, id is the primitive part of the mind that seeks immediate gratification of biological or instinctual needs. Now, the biological needs are the basic physical needs, and while the instinctual needs are the natural or unlearned needs like hunger, thirst, sex, etc. It is the unconscious part of the mind that act instantaneously without giving much thought to what is right and what is wrong. So this can be compared to the phrase, I want this. For example, if your id passed through a boy playing with a ball, the immediate urge to get that ball will drive you to snatch it by any means. So this is irrational and may lead to the conflict between the boys. Thus, id is the source of psychic energy. So a force that is behind all the mental forces. Now, as regards to superego, this is related to the social or the moral values that an individual inculcates as he matures. So it acts as an ethical constraint on behavior and helps an individual to develop his conscience. So as the individual grows in the society, he learns the cultural values and the norms of the society, which help him to differentiate between right and wrong. So super ego is associated with the phrase, this is not the way to get it. For example, the same scenario with the id. So the super ego passed that boy playing with a ball. It would not snatch it as it would know that snatching is bad and may lead to quarrel. The super ego acts as a constraint on your behavior and guides you to follow the right path. But if the id is stronger than the super ego, you will definitely snatch the ball by any means. With ego, ego now is the logical and the conscious part of the mind, which is associated with the reality principle. So this means it balances the demands of id and superego in the context of real life situations. So ego is conscious and hence keep a check on id through a proper reasoning of an external environment. So ego is associated with the phrase, let's work on it. For example, again, if you pass through the same boy playing with the ball, your ego will mediate the conflict between the id and the superego and will decide to buy a new ball for yourself. This may hurt your id, but the ego would take this decision to reach a compromise situation between the id and the superego by satisfying the desire of getting a ball without committing any unpleasant social behavior. Hence, these are the fundamental structures of the mind, and there's always a conflict between these three. Now, the efforts to attain the balance between these defines the way we behave in the external environment. Now, let's proceed with Freud's psychosexual stage. Now, the question here is, how does personality develop? So, according to Freud, children go through a series of psychosexual stages that lead to the development of the adult personality. Now, his theory describe how personality develop over the course of childhood. While Freud's theory of personality development is well known in psychology, It has always been quite controversial, both during Freud's time and in modern psychology. Now, one important thing to note is that contemporary psychoanalytic theories of personality development have incorporated and emphasize ideas about internalized relationships and interactions and the complex ways in which we maintain our sense of self into the models that began with Freud himself. Now, Freud believed that personality developed through a series of childhood stages in which the pleasure-seeking energies of the id become focused on certain areas. So this zone is characterized as an area of the body that is particularly sensitive to stimulation. During the five psychosexual stages, which are the oral, anal, phallic, latent, and genital stages, the erogenous zone associated with each stage serves as a source of pleasure. The psychosexual energy, also known as libido, was described as the driving force behind every behavior. Now, psychoanalytic theory suggested that personality is mostly established by the age of 5. Early experiences play a large role in personality development and continue to influence behavior later in life. Each stage of development is marked by conflicts that can help build growth or stifle development depending upon how they are resolved. Now, if these psychosexual stages are completed successfully, a healthy personality is the result. Now, if certain issues are not resolved at the appropriate stage, fixations can occur or happen. A fixation is a persistent focus on an earlier psychosexual stage. Until this conflict is resolved, the individual will remain stuck in this stage. Now, a person who is fixated at the oral stage, for example, may be over dependent on others and may seek oral stimulation through smoking, drinking, or even excessive eating. Now, the oral stage usually range from 0 to 2 years old, and its erogenous zone is his mouth. So during the oral stage, the infant's primary source of interaction occurs through the mouth. So the rooting and the sucking reflex is especially important. Now, the mouth is vital for eating, and the infant derives pleasure from oral stimulation through gratifying activities such as tasting and sucking. Since the infant is entirely dependent upon caretakers, the child also develops a sense of trust and comfort through this oral stimulation. Now, the primary conflict at this stage is the weaning process. The child must become less dependent upon caretakers. So, if fixation occurs at this stage, Freud believed the individual will have issues with dependency or aggression. Now, oral fixation can result in problems with drinking, eating, smoking, or nail biting. This is also similar with the first stage of psychosocial theory, which I have discussed in our earlier discussion. And this is about trust versus mistrust. Now, with the anal stage, so this is usually from 2 to 3 years of age, and the erogenous zone here is bowel and bladder control. Now, during the anal stage, Freud believed that the primary focus of the libido was on controlling bladder and bowel movements. Now, the major conflict at this stage is toilet training. So the child has to learn to control their bodily needs. Developing this control leads to a sense of accomplishment and independence. According also to Freud, success at this stage is dependent upon the way in which parents approach toilet training. So parents who utilize praise and rewards for using the toilet at the appropriate time encourage positive outcomes and help children feel capable and productive. Freud also believed that positive experiences during the toilet training stage serve as the basis for people to become competent, productive, and creative adults. But not all parents provide the support and encouragement the children need during this stage. So some parents punish, ridicule, or shame child for accidents. And based to Freud, inappropriate parental responses can result in negative outcomes. If parents take an action or approach that is too lenient, Freud suggested that an anal expulsive personality could develop in which the individual has a messy, wasteful, or destructive personality. If parents, on the other hand, are too strict or begin toilet training too early, Freud believed that an anal retentive personality develops in which the individual is stringent, orderly, rigid, and obsessive. And this stage is somehow associated with autonomy versus shame and doubt in the psychosocial theory. Now, with the third stage, the phallic stage, so this is usually experienced from 3 to 7 years of age, and the erogenous zone here is the genitals. Freud suggested that during the phallic stage, the primary focus of the libido is on the genitals. Now, at this stage, children also begin to discover the differences between males and females. Freud also believed that boys begin to view their fathers as a rival for the mother's affections. Now, the Oedipus complex describes these feelings of wanting to possess the mother and the desire to replace the father. However, the child also fears that he will be punished by the father for this feeling. So a fear Freud term castration and anxiety. Now, the term Electra complex has been used to describe a similar set of feelings experienced by young girls. Freud, on the other hand, believed that girls instead experience penis envy. So eventually, the child begins to identify the same-sex parent as a means of vicariously possessing the other parent. So for girls, however, Freud believed that penis envy was never fully resolved and that all women remain somewhat fixated on this stage. Psychologists disputed this theory, so calling it both inaccurate and demeaning to women. Instead, one psychologist proposed that men experience feelings of inferiority because they cannot give birth to children, a concept she referred to as womb envy. Now, the fourth stage is the latent period, and this is range from 7 to 11. During this stage, the superego continues to develop while the id energies are suppressed. Children develop social skills, values, and relationships with peers and adults outside of the family. Now, the development of the ego and superego contribute to this period of calm. The stage begins around the time that children enter into school and become more concerned with peer relationships, hobbies, and other interests. The latent period is a time of exploration in which the sexual energy repressed or dormant. This energy is still present, but it is sublimated into other areas such as intellectual pursuits and social interactions. Now, this stage is important in the development of social and communication skills and self confidence. As with the other psychosexual stages, Freud believed that it was possible for children to become fixated or stuck in this phase. Fixation at this stage can result in immaturity and an inability to form fulfilling relationships as an adult. The last stage is the genital stage, and this is ranges from age 11 until adult, and age range is puberty to death. Erogenous zone is maturing sexual interest. The onset of puberty causes the libido to become active once again. So during the final stage of psychosexual development, the individual develops a strong sexual interest in the opposite sex. So this stage begins during puberty but lasts throughout the rest of a person's life. Where in earlier stages, the focus was solely on individual needs. Interest in the welfare of others grows during this stage. The goal of this stage is to establish a balance between the various life areas. If the other stages have been completed successfully, the individual should now be well balanced, warm, and caring. Unlike the many of the earlier stages of development, Freud believed that the ego and the superego were fully formed and functioning at this point. Younger children are ruled by the id, which demands immediate satisfaction of the most basic needs and wants. Teens in the genital stage of development are able to balance their most basic urges against the need to conform to the demands of reality and social norms. Now, let us evaluate psychosexual stages. Freud's theory is still considered controversial today, but imagine how audacious it seemed during the late 1800s and early 1900s. There have been a number of observations and criticisms of Freud's psychosexual theory on a number of grounds, including scientific and, of course, feminist critics. And these are some of the criticisms. The theory is focused almost entirely on male development, with little mention of female psychosexual development. His theories are difficult to test scientifically. Concepts such as the libido are impossible to measure and therefore cannot be tested. The research that has been conducted tends to discredit Freud's theory. Future predictions are too vague. How can we know that a current behavior was caused specifically by a childhood experience? So the length of time between the cause and the effect is too long to assume that there is a relationship between the two variables. And Freud's theory is based upon case studies and not empirical research. Moreover, Freud based his theory on the recollections of his adult patients, not on actual observation and study of children. Another criticism of the psychosexual stages is that the theory focuses primarily on heterosexual development and largely ignores homosexual development. So, how exactly did Freud explain the development of sexual preferences? So Freud's theory suggested that heterosexual preferences represent the normal outcome of the development and suggested that homosexual preferences represented deviation of this process. Freud's own viewpoints on homosexuality varied, at times expressing biological explanations and at other times social or psychological explanations for sexual preferences. Unlike many thinkers of his time, Freud was unconvinced that homosexuality represented a pathology. So he also believed that attempts to alter a person's sexuality were usually futile and often harmful.